Welcome to Session 5 of the Construction Management and Risk Management series. Today I'm going to be speaking about creating a risk register, using a risk register to identify risks. A risk register is simply a table. It provides us with a framework for identifying and recording risks. The structure of the table allows us for a simplified analysis and comparison of the various risks that we identify. The risk register also gives us a place to record and keep updates. The process itself is facilitated by the risk register. Well, what is the process? Initially, we look at our project information and identify all the uncertainties in the project and the corresponding part of the project that they impact, the risk event and the impact of that event. During the first run-through, we focus on the identification and not doing an in-depth analysis or providing all the auxiliary information. So how do we identify risk? Risk is uncertainty. We take another look at the project documents, the contract documents, the geotech reports, surveys, any of the drawings, and especially the project plan, because that also contains the cost and the scheduling, the timelines that we are responsible for. Consider also, of course, the team, the architects that we are working with, the general contractors, subcontractors, and trades, any suppliers, the project management team itself, and of course, the client. Who is the client? Is this a developer, institution, corporation, government? And have we worked with this type of a client before, or this particular client before? It's important to also consider where we are in the business cycle. Are times booming, in which case we have a labor shortage, or is it a bust, in which case we have a financing shortage, or perhaps we have to be more competitive about our actual projects? What type of a regulatory environment are we in? Is there a government change in the offing, or are these regulations likely to change soon? Also consider site conditions, the conditions themselves around the site, the weather. Where are we in the seasonal cycle, and is this likely to change with a modified start date? We want to look at similar projects, previous projects, and research some historical information. Discuss the new project with experienced personnel in your company to identify the risks that have impacted other projects and that may impact yours. Assemble all these risks into a table. Classically, this is known as a risk register. Discuss this table of risks with the team and the experienced personnel in your company. The risk register provides a framework for analyzing and addressing the risks. Through the discussions, more risks will be identified and should be added to that register. Risks will be better identified. A variety of strategies to address the risks will also be articulated during these discussions. This is the beginnings of your risk management plan. The risk register provides the framework, as I mentioned. The kinds of information that you'll be assembling include the risk event itself, of course, the item, deliverable, or location that the risk event impacts. If the risk is outside the project, obviously it's irrelevant. The whens to record about this risk are many. Most significant are the date identified, that the risk is identified, and any update added to that risk. Also, most significant is the date that the impact will be realized. The date that mitigation or your response to this risk would be initiated. And of course, finally, the date that this risk is no longer a concern if it doesn't happen. In a large, complex project, it may also be useful to include a reference number or a categorization of the risk by source or by impact. The impact, of course, is very significant. The impact of the risk described briefly in a couple of words, and also including the discussion that has gone on around this risk. Also significant to record is the likelihood of the occurrence of this risk. How likely is it to happen? Even a ballpark probability is useful. High probability risks, of course, should be addressed, and these will be used to prioritize. It is important to prioritize because we do not have limitless resources, time, manpower to address all of the risks. So we address only the risks with the highest impact and risks with the most likelihood of occurring. These risks that we've prioritized, we develop response plans whether to accept, transfer, or mitigate the risks themselves. Now, to ensure success, we also need to include an owner for each risk, and that owner will be responsible for monitoring the risk throughout the project lifecycle. Here is an example of a risk register. The table could use a few other fields. One in particular is priority. However, this is simple and clear presentation of a risk management plan. Note that we have the task that's being affected, the risks themselves, the dates. We've only used words for likelihood and level of impact here. We could also quantify these in terms of numbers. We've assigned an owner and we have a brief response plan. This is an example of a more complete risk register. The report was generated by RiskMP. RiskMP is one of a number of digital tools, software applications that are available to assist you in actually creating the risk register and very professional looking risk reports. RiskMP is a simple software tool. The risk register is just one of the many reports available. One of the advantages of using the software tool is that you can sort or filter by any one of these particular columns. You can make the risk analysis or the risk register as complex or as simple as is required for the particular project that you're working with. And you can bring up the information that is relevant to you. Over and above having the standard risk register created for you, software also allows you to pick and choose the columns that are relevant to you at that particular time. At the start, the discussions and impact are most significant as the risk is being defined. As the project progresses, delays, costs, quantitative information may also be relevant. It helps you manage the data. Just like we went from paper-based risk matrices in the 70s to risk registers and using Excel in the 90s, we should be using a software application to capture the risk information. Software that has the risk management process built into it will lead you through the creation of the risk register step by step. Software has a number of advantages we're all aware of. More than one person can work with it. It's shareable and easy to update. Also, it's a repository so that the historical information, which is a key part in identifying risks, is readily available, so we can reuse what's already been done. It also provides you with professional summaries, and most importantly, it addresses that one problem that every project has, the catch-all of problems: improved communications. Good software legitimately improves communication between the project manager, the site, the trades, and management. In summary, the risk register provides the PM with a framework to identify, analyze, and communicate risks. Because it allows for an unlimited number of risks at any one level of severity or likelihood, it is an improvement on the classic risk matrix. The tabular format allows for a broader analysis of each risk, and it moves you, the practitioner, towards the quantitative definition of risks and prioritizing. The risk register facilitates all stages of risk management throughout the project lifecycle. Using modern software tools to create, update, and maintain your risk register will allow you to create a repository of risks and provide you with the ability to review, update, and document very easily. Thank you very much for your time and participating in this session on risk registers. In the next session, we'll be looking at analyzing risks, creating response plans, and improving communications.